Hello everybody, welcome back. Last week I introduced to you my functional planner for the year of 2026, which is this beautiful laconic left vertical weekly. And in today's video, I'm going to go over my more personal planners for the year of 2026, and those are none other than Hobonichis. Nobody is more surprised about this development than I am, so we're going to discuss everything that happened. This is going to be more of a chatty video. I'm going to go over paper quality, how I plan to use it, and of course a reflection of last year and what changed and what got me to choose Hobonichi for this year, because I know it's going to come as a surprise, and like I said, nobody is more surprised than I am. So without further ado, let's get started. Whew. Okay, where to begin? I think it's only fitting that we go over my 2025, see what happened, and then gradually go into what the heck, why am I choosing Hobonichi? Okay, so to start, I had this Paper Test Designs. This is the B6 full year edition, and this was my personal planner. It was kind of my like Dear Diary situation. I kept journaling in here, and then I also tried to incorporate aspects of health planning as well. So if you're not familiar with the layout, before each week you get a horizontal weekly, and then you get 7 blank pages. So initially I had used that left portion as kind of like a meal tracker, but it just got ahead of me and I was falling behind, and I just never ended up using these weeklies because my functional planner for events and to-dos was somewhere else. At the same time, having this weekly between all of the dailies was really disruptive for me because I wasn't using them. It kind of became an eyesore, and because the dailies weren't dated either, I was just having loads of daily pages that were blank, but I couldn't just use them one after the other because the weekly was dated, if that makes sense. One thing I have been enjoying about the paper tests are the monthlies. I've been doing a daily highlight every single day. I include a sketch, and it's just been a really fun practice. As you guys know, I'm kind of trying to get a little bit better at sketching, so this is something that I've been consistent with the entire year, and it just makes me feel really positive when I'm looking back. The only thing is that the monthlies are grouped with the weeklies and dailies, which in this scenario I don't really enjoy because I want to be able to flip through my monthlies and see all of the images consecutively. So that was another consideration moving into 2026. And then as for this Kinbor, I didn't really have a solid plan going into 2025 because I did introduce my Jibun Techo, which kind of threw a wrench into the whole planning sphere. So I fell off for a while, and most recently I've been using it as a health plan, just keeping track of my workouts and what I'm doing every day in terms of like movement and supplements and tracking a little bit. And that is something that I've been enjoying, and I did want to continue into 2026. So then what happened and what led me to the Hobonichis? Well, I took a walk down memory lane and I brought out some of my old Hobonichis. So as I was flipping through my Hobonichi cousin for the year of 2022, I got a little bit nostalgic, and I realized that the layout was just very comforting for me. And in 2022, it was one of my harder years, and I was really relying on this planner to get me through a lot, and it did. I mean, this planner is just completely packed to the brim of ephemera and everything. And also I was really happy that the months were grouped together so that I could do the memory keeping and it would all be consecutive. And then I think what put the nail in the coffin was the fact that I had a gift card to one of my favorite stationery stores who had just gotten their Hobonichi cousins in, because obviously I know that Hobonichi cousins are very expensive, especially this year with everything that's happening with the tariffs and import fees and whatnot. So I really could not justify buying a cousin outright. It just so happened that I had a gift card, and that kind of allowed me to be more comfortable taking the jump because I knew that I wasn't spending anything actually out of pocket. And then for the weeks, I really was not intending on purchasing one for 2026, and I had actually gotten a Kinbor for 2026, and I was very happy because the Kinbor layout is nearly identical, and in 2025 I was very happy with the paper and there were no issues. Well, I got my Kinbor for 2026 and they had changed the paper. And after last year, I just did not want to compromise. I wanted to make sure that at least one of my planners would be fountain pen friendly, and so I did end up getting a Hobonichi Weeks for 2026. So now that we have that all out of the way, let's take a look. I'm going to show you which covers I got and all that good stuff. I've been keeping my Hobonichi Cousin in its wrapping paper, even though I already have a cover on it because, I don't know, I feel like it's my child. Okay, so here they are. I've already gone ahead and done all of the deco. I did think about recording it, but that was just an invitation to mess up. I am so bad at putting on tabs as is, and I felt like if I had a camera on me, I would just be a disaster. So to start, all of the stickers, like these big die cut ones, are from Redbubble. I've never purchased from Redbubble, but it was a very good experience. And once I decided on a pink theme for my cousin, then of course, naturally, the color I had to go for the weeks was this beautiful pink, and I think they look really good together. I did also add some brown tabs with the weeks just so that it kind of ties into the brown and pink theme. And you'll notice that this brown paper is also used in my laconic just so that I have some form of continuity across all three of my planners. And if you're curious about this kind of vintage looking paper, it actually came from the stationery store that I bought the cousin from. They offer these brown paper bags, and I just cut it up and put it in here. And I think it turned out quite well. I put it in the front and the back, but I kept the back like blank. With accessories, I did end up buying the tabs they released this year. I also just got a pencil board, which I always do regardless of planner size. The clear cover is one from Midori that I've had lying around for a while, so this was not a new purchase. And then for the weeks, I obviously just have a week's clear cover on it, and then I have these brown tabs, which are from Nicole Josephine, and I have this pencil board, which I got back in 2024. So let's start with the cousin, and I'm just going to go over how I will be using it. So starting with the year at a glance, I'll probably just end up using it as an index, just making reference to any pages that I want to come back to, and then down here I will do like a monthly highlight, the one event that really stuck out to me. For the monthlies, this should come as no surprise, but I will be doing memory keeping just like I've been doing this year, so every day I will do a small excerpt and a little doodle to highlight the memory of the day. And then for the weeklies, I thought it would be a fun idea to try some time tracking, just in a very general sense, like big events that happened, what I spent most of my time doing that day, just another way to become more mindful of where I'm spending my time. And then for this nice blank page before each month, I'm just going to do like a monthly theme, kind of like bullet journal-esque, just dedicating maybe a color palette or some imagery to the month. And then as mentioned, the dailies are going to be a gratitude and like Dear Diary reflection style. I know it might be a surprise that I landed on the A5 size, especially after saying that the B6 was a little bit too large for me, but what happened was I got it in my head for some reason that as I was writing, it had to fit inside the boxes and be really tiny. And then more recently, I've realized that is not the case, and I can in fact write quite large and quite messy, and it will still be a valid use of the space. So I'm not limited to how small my handwriting is. So that is why I felt like the A5 would be appropriate, because I can always just write larger. And I think because the pages are dated, and also because I'm just really attached to this layout, I think it will work. Okay, now of course I will show you how the paper is holding up, because that was a huge thing back in 2025 was the paper. And I had heard from a couple people prior to getting the cousin, they said that theirs was performing better against all of their utensils. So that was another reason why I felt a little more confident about going for the cousin, is I felt like it was less of a gamble knowing that the paper had kind of been addressed in some way. So here are all of the utensils that I tested, and I really did not hold back on these swatches. I was going pretty heavy-handed, especially with the Kaweco. This ink is very prone to bleed through. However, it held up quite well. Obviously, you will get some ghosting. That's just what TRP is. But you'll see that my fountain pens are fine. Gel pens are bleeding through a little bit. And then all of the other like Tombows and mild liners look really good. Even the zig markers are pretty decent. So I was very pleased with this, especially after last year. I think this is an improvement, and I don't know, I'm happy with it. You guys can let me know in the comments how your Hobonichis are holding up so so far, I would love to know. So that is the cousin. Moving on to the weeks. As mentioned, this is going to be dedicated to my health, and I've also tied it into my OCD. I've mentioned it a couple times on my channel, but I am diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder and general anxiety disorder, so I did want a space where I could delve in a little more to that. So to start, I just have a couple die cuts. Once again, these are from Redbubble, and I thought they were really cute. Little Miss Overthinker, who is also trying to embrace uncertainty. So I thought that was a positive message, a positive connotation. And again, hot girls have OCD. So true. Okay. In the year at a glance, I will be tracking my screen time, especially with all of the new tools that I'm implementing. I just want a space where I can see the entire year at a glance and, see how far I've come, because I've really been trying to make this a priority. And in my monthly, the first thing that I'll be tracking is my steps. I was using an Apple Watch for a while, but I kept getting like a rash, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. And then the second thing that I'm tracking are my weigh-ins using this scale, which actually is able to track like muscle mass. So that's something that I'm prioritizing, is just looking to see, of my body weight, how much of it is muscle, because I have been working out more consistently, and I would just love to see my muscle mass go up. In the weekly, there are definitely a few things that I want to look at. So on the left side, I'd love to take a look at my workout type, just generally what I did that day for activity and whether or not I have specific notes, like I increased weight, or I was feeling really good, or I was feeling not so good. And then on this other section here, I'm going to write down the foods that I've eaten, which happen to be weird ones. So I'm very sensitive to like junk food, and if I have chips, chocolate, and the like, I end up not feeling so good. So I'm just gonna make note if I have eaten something that might not react well, so that that reaction comes, I will be able to pinpoint why. And then on this right hand side here, it's mostly going to be dedicated to trackers, things like supplements, water, and then also some symptoms. And then finally at the back, I'm going to write down my workout split like you saw in my Kinboard, just which exercises I'm doing on which days, like my program. And then I'm also going to write down any therapy notes or homework that I get. That is something that I'm looking for in 2026, is to try and get some more treatment for my OCD. I was in therapy at one point, and I just think it's time for a little refresh. And the reason why I'm putting that at the back instead of in my cousin is because I don't always want to see when I'm in an OCD flare. I think can be a little bit triggering to always be looking at your obsessions, especially if you're writing them down. It can be really uncomfortable, so I'd rather put it somewhere where I don't have to look at it every day. Anyway guys, that is it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and giving it a huge thumbs up. I will be revealing my entire planner lineup at some stage, but I'm kind of doing a rollout one by one. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Stay cozy and bye-bye.